ULS Universal Learning Systems is an Irish company, but we work globally, primarily in Europe, but in other places as well. And our work is a curious one because we work between universities, between government agencies, between private employers in that broad area of social inclusion. And over many years and many projects, we have worked writing papers, writing policy, researching situations, and working on projects, hopefully that make a difference for the inclusion of various groups. Our particular interest has been around people marginalized by the experience of disability, but also looking at refugees, looking at issues around other ethnic minorities, looking at the whole question of conflict resolution. I have a particular penchant for projects in post-war environments, trying to bring communities together in some form of, not reconciliation, but working together. From this experience and this work, there are a couple of issues that we want to highlight to you as we start this conference and as ULS hosts this from our own perspective. We have a very strong and clear idea that social inclusion is more than tokenism, that it means changing the mainstream as much as it means changing the opportunities for those excluded by structures, by systems, by prejudice and by discrimination. And in that dynamic, we have a lot of things to look at, and one of them is entrepreneurship. I think what's really quite interesting in welcoming, for some of you, welcoming you to Ireland, first of all, and you're very welcome here, and for others of you, welcoming you to Cork, it is important to remember where we are. And as we look out the window, and I see to my delight it's not raining, okay? Give it a few moments. You see that this is a complex and wonderful country and complex and wonderful city with its own traditions of entrepreneurship. And Ireland very often has been characterized in many ways by many outsiders, but for those who live through here, the idea of entrepreneurship as doing something differently or innovatively for one's own empowerment, I think is part of the culture as well. This is the country, after all, the city, the region that gave you Henry Ford, God help us, okay? An immigrant from here, okay? So people from Ireland, and again, the experience of emigration was the opportunity for people in other countries to do what they could not do here, and that speaks volumes. The other kind of traditions from that would come from here, of course, for those of you that may have come here on Ryanair, realizing that we have these wonderful images of entrepreneurship as the heroic businessmen triumphing against the odds of bureaucracy. But entrepreneurship is much more. It's about that spirit, and we deliberately try to link this to social inclusion, because the wonderful dynamic Ireland you see when you look out the windows here is an Ireland also characterized by what James Joyce called the nightmare of history, the nightmare from which I'm still trying to awaken. An atmosphere of oppression, of institutionalization, of victimization of its poorest, of famine, of literal death. So the question of social inclusion is more than just the tokenistic idea of giving somebody a nice idea, but understanding the pain of history, the need to avoid the repetition. I often feel that the European Union has given us a wonderful cushion to explore these things in honesty and with our partners. And I think that maybe brings us to a point of real appreciation. Also gives us a sense that somehow we can have the security of a Europe that values peace and cooperation. But as we know, in only the last few years, we've lived through the traumas not just of COVID and the impact of that, also of Brexit, and right now of a war in the Ukraine. So these things are not stable. But within that, we want to pull the best from the entrepreneurial experience, marry it to the needs of those excluded by systems, and hopefully within that, through this project, to come up with clear guidelines for all of us to be able to move this agenda forward. So you're all very welcome. We work throughout. Our primary focus is in Ireland. We also work in Finland, in Greece, in Spain, in the United States, and in Brazil. Our work, therefore, is not just Irish, but is conditioned, I think, by our global experience. But I want to pay particular tribute, I think, to the people from ULS who have created the work. Marta Correa has been working on the administration side. My colleague Imelda Graham, who's working not just on this one, other projects with us. And above all, and I'm frantically looking for his shirt, Terry Datson, okay? He's just stepped out, which is his psychic way of trying to make it. But you can tell them all afterwards. Terry has been really the driving force between holding this together, pulling together this day. And I want to pay my own personal thanks to all the fantastic work. This was not staged. So you're all very welcome. Enjoy the day. I would say to you, not just participate, argue, debate. This is something we have been trying to tease apart. What does this mean? I personally want to move away from the cliches of entrepreneurship. I want to get into the idea, and this idea that entrepreneurship can happen at public policy level, in public areas, in communities and cooperatives. I think this is the issue. Ireland also had great public entrepreneurship models, okay? Duty-free airports. Irish coffee, you can say as well, okay? You're very welcome. Enjoy the day, and let's see this as the beginning and not the end. Thank you.